Judge agreed to release actor Timothy Busfield from jail until he goes on trial to face child abuse allegations. Jim Murray was at the courthouse in New Mexico and spoke with the relieved Little House on the Prairie star.
Melissa Gilbert, beloved star of Little House on the Prairie, has long been celebrated for her grace, talent, and advocacy. But now, her personal life is caught in a shocking legal storm. Following an arrest warrant against her husband, Timothy Busfield, over allegations of sexual abuse involving minors, Gilbert's earlier reflections on childhood vulnerability and hidden dangers take on a chilling new meaning. What seemed like introspective honesty is now viewed as hauntingly prescient. So, what exactly unfolded? How serious are the allegations, and what does this reveal about Gilbert's shocking revelation? When trust shatters, when news of Timothy Busfield's arrest over allegations of abuse involving minors broke, Melissa Gilbert was plunged into a reality no spouse ever anticipates. The shock was immediate and profound, not just because of the legal implications, but because it forced her to face a personal truth that few are prepared to confront. Sometimes, even the people we trust most, the ones we open our hearts to, may be hiding actions capable of destroying the bonds we hold dear. For Gilbert, this was a reckoning of the deepest and most intimate kind. What made the situation all the more chilling was how eerily her own past reflections seemed to foreshadow the turmoil. Years earlier, Gilbert had shared candid insights about her time as a young performer in Hollywood. She wrote about the vulnerabilities she faced, the pressures of growing up in the entertainment industry, and the uncomfortable situations she was expected to navigate as a child surrounded by adults. At the time, those reflections were taken as thoughtful, reflective commentary, lessons learned from a childhood spent in the public eye. But following her husband's arrest, the words took on an entirely new weight. They were no longer abstract observations about the entertainment world. They became a lens through which she had to interpret a painful, personal reality unfolding in her own life. Suddenly, her reflections about vulnerability were not just about past experiences, they were about the unsettling realization that danger can exist close to home, hidden in plain sight. What Gilbert had once spoken about as a cautionary tale for others now mirrored the very situation she was forced to grapple with. That even those we believe we know intimately may carry secrets that, once revealed, can fracture our sense of safety and trust. The protection and insight she once relied on could not shield her from discovering disturbing truths about the life she had built alongside someone she loved. The arrest was far more than a legal event. It became an emotional and psychological earthquake. A marriage she had celebrated as loving, joyful, and spiritually grounded was suddenly overshadowed by allegations that threatened everything she thought she knew. Trust, which forms the foundation of every intimate relationship, was no longer certain. Gilbert's experience revealed a harsh truth. Being close to someone, loving them deeply, and sharing your life with them does not automatically grant clarity about their choices or actions. In confronting this reality, Gilbert's story underscores a universal lesson about human relationships. Even in love, even with vigilance and awareness, some truths remain hidden until they are forced into the open. The arrest did not just mark a legal moment. It exposed the fragility of trust, the weight of unexpected betrayal, and the unnerving reality that the most familiar people in our lives can sometimes harbor secrets we never imagined. For Gilbert, this was a moment of profound reflection, a reminder that awareness, caution, and emotional resilience are essential, even when life seems secure, and that the people we believe we know best may still hold the power to shock us in ways we never anticipated. Melissa Gilbert's reflections on childhood abuse revealed her deep condemnation of any form of harm to minors. But was she ever a personal victim of abuse? And how does she view the issue of child exploitation? Now, let's explore Gilbert's revelation about how trusted people can conceal dangerous truths. The secret no one sees. When Melissa Gilbert wrote the words, "I was a child, I was 15, she was reflecting on her own experiences as a young performer in Hollywood, thinking about the pressures expectations, and blurred boundaries she had faced in the entertainment industry. Back then, those words were personal memories, honest, thoughtful, and reflective, but ultimately confined to her own story. They captured the confusion of youth, the weight of responsibility placed on a child, and how power can be misused when adults fail to recognize the vulnerability of those in their care. But after her husband, Timothy Busfield, was arrested on allegations of abuse involving minors, Gilbert's words suddenly carried a weight far beyond anything she had originally intended. What once read as a nostalgic look back at childhood now felt ominously prescient, as though she had been unknowingly preparing the world for the moment she would confront the unimaginable in her own life. Those words, once simply descriptive, became a moral declaration, a warning, and a statement of clarity about what should never be tolerated. Children cannot consent to adult situations, and no amount of love, faith, or trust can replace vigilant protection. Melissa Gilbert's revelation strikes deep, touching both the personal and the universal. It reminds us that even in the closest, seemingly safest relationships, hidden dangers can quietly linger. Trust, it seems, is far more fragile than we like to believe. Someone who appears loving, kind, and devoted may still harbor secrets, behaviors, or truths hidden behind ordinary routines and carefully maintained appearances. Safety is never certain. It can be broken, overlooked, or ignored. Protection depends on those willing to notice warning signs, speak up, and act when something feels wrong. Gilbert's story is a cautionary mirror for us all. Melissa Gilbert's revelation points to a deeper truth about life. Vigilance is never optional, and assuming safety is dangerous. Just as she once faced the vulnerability of youth in an industry built for adults, she now learns that caution must extend into her personal life, even within the walls of her own home. Love, commitment, and decades of shared history cannot guarantee protection from harm. The painful shock of discovering unsettling truths about someone you trust is both disorienting and heartbreaking, forcing the difficult struggle between believing in the person you love and accepting the reality of what lies beneath. What makes Gilbert's words particularly compelling is the way they bridge time and experience. They speak to her past as a teenager navigating the pressures of Hollywood, and they now speak to her present as an adult grappling with betrayal, shock, and public scrutiny. Her statement is not just an account of her own story. It is a reflection on human vulnerability, the limits of trust, and the responsibilities we carry to protect those who cannot protect themselves. After her husband's arrest, Gilbert's words reveal that no relationship, no matter how close, can fully protect us from hidden dangers. But could it be possible for someone to harbor danger while those closest to them remain unaware? Now let's explore how Melissa Gilbert learned that love and trust don't always reveal the full truth. Betrayal in plain sight. The arrest of Timothy Busfield brought with it a painful, almost unimaginable truth. Abuse and betrayal do not always arrive in obvious forms, nor do they always exist in distant or unfamiliar places. Sometimes they hide quietly in plain sight, entwined with normalcy, affection, and even public advocacy. For Melissa Gilbert, this realization was devastating. Here was a man she had loved, trusted, and built a life with, someone whose presence had been framed by shared laughter, mutual respect, and long-held partnership. Yet, in an instant, the arrest revealed that even the most loving relationships can conceal truths that shatter perception and trust. Gilbert's life up until that moment had been one of vigilance, compassion, and principled action. She had spent decades advocating for fairness, justice, and accountability, speaking openly about the vulnerabilities of children in Hollywood and the responsibilities of adults in positions of power. She had worked tirelessly to shine a light on injustice and empower voices that often went unheard. And yet, the very principles she championed, awareness, protection, and moral clarity, could not shield her from the hidden realities within her own home. The painful irony was not lost on her. Those who know best, those who actively speak out against harm, can still be blindsided by the very betrayals they caution against. This revelation underscores an uncomfortable truth. Proximity, familiarity, and intimacy are not guarantees of insight. Love does not automatically equate to knowledge, and the closeness of a relationship does not always reveal the full picture of another person's actions or intentions. For Gilbert, the arrest was a profound lesson in the limits of trust. It demonstrated that betrayal often thrives where vigilance is least expected, among family, partners, or friends whom we believe we know completely. It is precisely in these spaces where comfort and confidence lull us into a sense of security that deception can quietly flourish. What makes Gilbert's experience all the more striking is the collision between her public persona and her private reality. Outwardly, she had long been recognized as a compassionate advocate, a person who stands for justice, who speaks on behalf of the vulnerable, and who values accountability above all. Yet the personal upheaval she faced reveals a universal, unsettling idea. Even those who actively work to prevent harm cannot fully control or foresee the hidden actions of those they love. Her story becomes a stark reminder that betrayal is not always dramatic, not always loud, and not always easy to detect. It often exists alongside the very normalcy, love, and trust that make it most devastating when revealed. Ultimately, Gilbert's revelation is both shocking and instructive. It highlights that awareness, advocacy, and vigilance are essential, but they cannot eliminate risk. Betrayal can hide where we feel safest, and truth can emerge when we least expect it. Her story forces audiences to confront an uncomfortable reality. Love and closeness are precious, but they do not make one immune to deception. In this sense, Gilbert's experience is both deeply personal and profoundly universal, a haunting reflection on the hidden vulnerabilities that exist even in the lives of the most devoted and principled among us. Gilbert has made it her mission to speak out against anything that threatens a child's safety. But does she truly have deep insight into the cause she champions, or could her passion be driven more by emotion than understanding? Let's find out. The arrest that changed everything she knew. After Timothy Busfield's arrest, Melissa Gilbert suddenly found that her earlier reflections on childhood vulnerability were no longer distant observations. They had become painfully and tragically personal. Words she had once written about navigating power imbalances, blurred boundaries, and the pressures faced by young performers now took on a haunting resonance, as if foreshadowing a reality she never expected to encounter in her own home. The situation was not merely a legal crisis, it was an emotional earthquake, shaking the foundations of a life she had believed to be secure, loving, and grounded in faith. For years, Gilbert had publicly described her marriage as one filled with warmth, partnership, and spiritual connection. Together, she and Busfield had built a life that seemed to embody shared values, laughter, and commitment. Their public tributes and affectionate anecdotes painted a picture of stability, joy, and deep mutual respect. Yet, with the arrest and the allegations now in the public eye, that narrative was suddenly reframed. The marriage she had celebrated, the love she had trusted, and the partnership she had believed in were all cast under a new, unsettling light. The emotional impact of this revelation cannot be overstated. It is one thing to grapple with public scrutiny, but entirely another to discover that a relationship you held sacred may contain hidden truths that challenge everything you thought you knew. This is the shocking reality Gilbert now faces. Love, faith, and devotion, no matter how genuine or heartfelt, do not automatically shield anyone from betrayal or hidden danger. The arrest forced her to confront a profound universal truth that most people hope never touches their lives. That even the closest relationships, the ones built on trust and intimacy, can harbor actions, secrets, or behaviors that remain invisible until a devastating moment brings them to light. For Gilbert, this is not just a legal or social crisis. It is a personal reckoning, an abrupt confrontation with the fragility of human trust and the limitations of love as a protective force. What makes Gilbert's situation so compelling is the collision of timing and perspective. Her reflections on vulnerability, once considered lessons drawn from her childhood in Hollywood, suddenly became a lens through which to view her own experiences as a spouse and partner. The insights she had gained about how harm can hide behind appearances, how danger can exist in seemingly safe spaces, and how trust is often conditional were no longer abstract theories. They were lived truths. In revealing this to the public, Gilbert exposes a stark and sobering message. Even awareness, reflection, and spiritual grounding cannot guarantee protection from betrayal. Even the people we love most, the people we invite into our lives and hearts, may carry hidden truths that can upend everything we believe. Her story is a testament to the complexity of human relationships, the unpredictability of trust, and the painful, often unavoidable confrontation with truths that lie just beneath the surface of what we think we know. Ultimately, Gilbert's experience is both deeply personal and universally resonant, a reminder that love and faith, while powerful, do not make us invulnerable. And when betrayal strikes in the places we least expect, it forces a reckoning with reality, one that reshapes how we see the people we hold closest to our hearts. Gilbert had been reflecting on her own past experiences long before her husband's arrest. But could the passion she showed defending child vulnerability extend to a situation involving her spouse? And how did she respond when he was accused and arrested? Let's uncover the full details. The silence that speaks in the days following Timothy. Busfield's arrest. Melissa Gilbert chose not to speak publicly about the allegations, maintaining a quiet, almost stoic presence. She did not rush to issue statements, defend herself, or address the swirling media speculation. Yet in that silence, her previous words took on a new, almost prophetic power. Gilbert's reflections about vigilance, accountability, and the dangers of assuming one truly knows everything about those closest to us suddenly resonated in a way that was impossible to ignore. The weight of what she had once expressed quietly became overwhelming when applied to her own life. Her past statements, once perhaps viewed as general musings on caution and personal safety, now felt like a roadmap to the painful reality she was facing. They highlighted a simple yet devastating truth. Awareness and advocacy, no matter how careful or deliberate, do not guarantee protection from betrayal or harm. Gilbert had long written and spoken about the importance of observing closely, questioning patterns, and standing up for justice, especially in situations where power imbalances exist. These principles, she had hoped, would guide others toward safety. But the arrest of her husband demonstrated that even with knowledge, attention, and best intentions, the actions of those we trust can sometimes defy expectation. This restraint, this decision not to immediately respond, became its own powerful message. It conveyed far more than words ever could. That some truths are too heavy to dramatize, too complex to fit into sound bites or headlines. It suggested that reflection, not confrontation, often communicates the deepest insights. In a world where public figures are frequently pressured to react, to comment, or to defend, Gilbert's silence spoke volumes. It underscored the reality that some revelations require quiet contemplation before they can be fully understood or responsibly shared. The most unsettling part of Gilbert's reflections lies in a hidden truth. Betrayal isn't always obvious, and danger often hides in plain sight. We can be careful, watchful, and conscientious, yet still find ourselves blindsided by the decisions of those we trust the most. Gilbert's story exposes this paradox, the harsh reality that love, trust, and even strong moral awareness cannot always shield us from pain or deceit. Even when all the signs seem visible, harm can still arrive unexpectedly, leaving us to face the bitter, unavoidable truth that not everything can be controlled. Her experience compels us to look deeper and question more. It reminds us that systems, relationships, and even the people we think we know best often hold hidden layers we cannot see. Gilbert's calm restraint is not a sign of weakness, but of quiet wisdom, a careful understanding that some truths are too powerful, too unsettling, to be rushed into the open. They require reflection, patience, and thoughtfulness rather than drama or spectacle. In the end, the shocking truth she reveals is not just about her husband's alleged actions, but about the fragility of trust itself. It is a lesson for everyone. Awareness, careful observation, and advocacy are vital, but they are not guarantees. Life can confront us with betrayals even when we believe we are prepared. Gilbert's silence and reflective honesty show that the hardest truths are often faced quietly, with courage. But how serious are the accusations that led to her husband's arrest? Now, let's dive into how Gilbert confronts the hidden realities of trust. Patterns, missed warnings, and personal reckoning. As the investigations unfolded and reports began to surface, the picture that emerged was far more complex and troubling than anyone had anticipated. Older allegations against Timothy Busfield, previously unnoticed or dismissed, resurfaced, bringing with them an unsettling reality that had been quietly lurking beneath the surface. Alongside these revelations came details of systemic delays, missed thresholds, and procedural hurdles that had slowed earlier interventions, creating a painful backdrop against which the latest events could not be ignored. For Melissa Gilbert, this was not just news. It was a deeply personal reckoning, a confrontation with our truths she had never imagined confronting in her own home. The weight of the moment was crushing. Gilbert, who had built her life around love, faith, and careful reflection, was forced to face the reality that the person she had trusted most, her husband, her partner, her companion in both life and career, carried a past she had never known. A past that, once revealed, changed everything she thought she understood about their relationship and the very notion of intimacy. This revelation was not merely shocking on a personal level, it struck at the core of what it means to trust someone completely. Her experience underscores a stark and haunting truth. Trust does not automatically equate to knowledge. No matter how vigilant, how observant, or how aware one may be, the actions of others can remain hidden, even from those closest to them. Gilbert had spent years advocating for awareness, compassion, and accountability. Yet she discovered firsthand that vigilance, even constant vigilance, cannot guarantee immunity from the unexpected. The human capacity for deception, secrecy, and hidden behavior is a reality that even the most careful observer can be blindsided by. Compounding the emotional turmoil was the intersection of systemic failure and personal betrayal. The delays in addressing previous allegations, whether due to bureaucratic barriers, legal technicalities, or procedural oversights, meant that warning signs were overlooked or dismissed. This created a haunting echo for Gilbert. The very gaps she had long warned about in her public reflections had appeared again, this time devastatingly close to home. It was not only the betrayal of someone she loved that left her reeling, but also the realization that the structures meant to protect, investigate, and prevent harm had faltered. The collision of personal and systemic failings made the experience all the more painful. Intimacy and trust, once sources of comfort and security, became intertwined with deception and doubt. For Gilbert, this was a lesson in the fragile nature of human relationships, how love, loyalty, and faith in another person can coexist with actions that shatter trust, and how even the most careful attention cannot always prevent heartbreak. Her story highlights an unsettling reality. Betrayal can hide in plain sight, and the people we hold closest to our hearts may carry truths we never imagined. It is a sobering reminder that while vigilance, awareness, and caution are essential, they are not infallible shields. Gilbert's experience is a powerful testimony to the emotional complexity of trust, the limits of human foresight, and the profound shock that comes when deception collides with love. It was hard for Gilbert, knowing that the person she trusted carried a hidden past she never knew or could defend. But why doesn't she fully know her husband's past? How long have they really been together? Could they each have had someone else before meeting, making it difficult to know everything about one another? Let's find out. A love tested by time. Melissa Gilbert and Timothy Busfield, two long-standing figures in Hollywood, embarked on a chapter of their lives together that many saw as the merging of talent, history, and shared experience. Each came with a rich personal and professional past, having navigated the highs and lows of the entertainment industry long before they ever crossed paths. Gilbert, forever remembered as the wholesome face of Little House on the Prairie, had previously been married twice. Her first marriage was to Bo Brinkman, lasting from 1988 to 1994, and her second to Bruce Boxleitner, a union that lasted from 1995 to 2011 and produced 2 children. Through these experiences, Gilbert had built both a family and a career, learning to balance personal life with the pressures of public attention. Timothy Busfield, a talented actor best known as Danny Concannon on The West Wing, was no stranger to love, loss, or life in the public eye. Like Gilbert, his story was woven with triumphs and trials. He had been married twice before, first to Radha Della Martyr from 1981 to 1986, with whom he shares a son, Wilson, and later to Jenny Merwin from 1988 to 2007, with 2 younger children. Behind the fame and Hollywood lights, his life was a delicate balance of personal relationships, career milestones, and the challenges that come with keeping both intact, proving even stars carry their private struggles. Their paths would cross in 2012, in a setting as ordinary as it was fateful, a bar in Los Angeles. What began as a casual encounter soon deepened into a meaningful connection, and by January 2013, during the holiday season, Busfield proposed. The proposal marked the beginning of a new chapter, one defined by companionship, shared values, and a mutual understanding forged over years of experience and personal growth. Later that year, the couple celebrated their love in an intimate ceremony at San Isidro Ranch in Santa Barbara, California, a private and picturesque setting befitting 2 actors who had spent their lives in the public eye. After marrying, Gilbert relocated to Michigan, embracing a new life alongside Busfield in his home state. Their journey together was never static or predictable. From the quiet streets of Michigan, they boldly moved to the vibrant, ever-busy world of New York City, embracing change and the excitement of shared adventures. When the coronavirus pandemic forced the world to pause, they channeled their energy into a creative outlet, the Gilbert and Busfield podcast. Through this project, they opened a window into their lives, sharing stories, memories, and behind-the-scenes moments from their careers and personal journeys. Across 18 episodes, listeners experienced their humor, resilience, and deep connection, witnessing a partnership built on collaboration, trust, and the art of storytelling that binds them together. This narrative of connection, love, and shared experience paints a portrait of 2 individuals who found one another after decades in Hollywood, combining their pasts and building a present that appeared both dynamic and deeply personal. It was a life that, from the outside, seemed full of love, laughter, and partnership, making the later revelations in their personal story all the more shocking and poignant. Both had been previously married, each with children from their former spouses, yet they shared a love many envied. But will their love story survive the arrest of Timothy Busfield? Now, let's uncover the hardest truth Gilbert revealed. When love isn't enough, before Timothy Busfield's arrest, Melissa Gilbert's marriage appeared to the outside world as a portrait of happiness and harmony. Interviews, public appearances, and social media posts all painted a picture of a relationship built on love, shared faith, and deep connection. From their laughter-filled holidays to their collaborative projects, the couple seemed inseparable, navigating both life and career with warmth and devotion. Fans and the media alike celebrated their partnership, seeing in it a reflection of commitment, trust, and mutual understanding. On the surface, Gilbert's life with Busfield looked stable, inspiring, and safe. A model of partnership many admire. Yet appearances can be deceiving. The arrest transformed that seemingly perfect image into a lens for the harsh truth. What once felt like a secure, deeply bonded marriage now carries a haunting undertone. Gilbert's personal revelation cuts straight to the core of human relationships. Love does not automatically guarantee safety, and closeness does not ensure full insight into another person's actions or intentions. Even in the most seemingly transparent relationships, shadows can exist. Secrets can be harbored, intentions can be hidden, and trust, no matter how deeply earned, can be challenged by entirely unforeseen events. For Gilbert, this is more than an abstract lesson. It is painfully personal. The arrest forced her to reconcile the life she thought she knew with the reality now unfolding before her eyes. Every cherished memory, every moment of connection, suddenly exists alongside questions, doubts, and a sense of betrayal. The emotional weight of realizing that someone you've loved, relied upon, and built a life with may have acted in ways you never imagined is almost impossible to quantify. This confrontation with hidden truths, however, is not limited to Gilbert's personal experience. It resonates universally. Her story underscores one of life's hardest lessons. Awareness, advocacy, and moral clarity do not make anyone immune to deception or betrayal. No amount of vigilance or wisdom can fully shield a person from the unexpected. Trust, even when nurtured with care, can be tested by actions beyond our perception. And the moment when hidden truths surface is often shattering, revealing realities that were previously invisible, even to the most attentive hearts. Gilbert's revelation is a stark reminder that the world is complex, and relationships, no matter how loving, carry risks that can never be completely anticipated. What makes this story so compelling is its dual nature. It is deeply personal, capturing Gilbert's confrontation with shock, grief, and disillusionment. Yet it is also profoundly universal, echoing a truth that anyone who has loved or trusted another can relate to. Appearances are not always reality, and safety is never guaranteed by affection alone. This insight, painful as it is, invites reflection. It challenges viewers to consider their own lives, relationships, and assumptions about those they hold closest. Ultimately, Gilbert's experience is both a cautionary tale and a call to awareness. It teaches that trust, love, and shared history are precious, but fragile too. That vigilance, honesty, and advocacy are important, but cannot prevent all betrayals, and that some truths only emerge when the bonds we depend on are tested in ways we never imagined. In revealing this, Gilbert turns a personal tragedy into a moment of reflection for all, a sobering meditation on love, trust, and the human capacity for both connection and deception. So, what do you think about Melissa Gilbert's shocking revelation? Can she still feel the same love for her husband? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.